Hi, everyone. Kelly Gettner again. I know you're getting sick of my face. Sorry about that. But welcome to another Multiverse Fundraiser panel. This is the Comic Book Spectrum panel, so I have a lot of fun people in the green room. We're going to talk about comics that give you hope because, especially now, we need some hope. First of all, though, I just want to say we're currently at $860 in donations, which is amazing. Thank you to everyone who's donated. If you haven't donated, we'll give the spiel mid-panel on how to donate, or the donation link is right below. So I am going to bring in all of our panelists. So first of all, we have our leader and host of Comic Book Spectrum, Joe D. McPhee. Welcome, Joe. One sec. Hi, how are you doing?
I am not. Am I? Oh,
you're here.
Okay. I'm about to say, well, my screen is just finally coming in. It's been kind of staticky, so it's like it's going in and out. So hopefully we have good connection throughout the whole panel.
Fingers crossed. It's been a weekend of tech issues, so let's just cross your fingers and send out some hopes and wishes. And let's bring in Elaine Haygood. So I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry, Elaine. Welcome, Elaine. How are you doing?
Hold on, because he gets mad if I don't put him on camera. Skelly Bird says hello too.
I love it.
I'm the weird feminist of the group.
Okay, I'm pretty weird, so we're gonna get along very well.
Oh, good. Okay, we're gonna have to compare notes.
We're gonna be besties, I think.
You know where. Now you know where to find me. So
yes,
reach out whenever you have a question.
Yeah, I can't believe all of us weren't Facebook friends until this year. I dropped the ball on that. That's on me.
This has been.
Well, you relied on Clyde. That's what it was. You relied on Clyde.
Yeah.
I did. But I'm all for new friends. And the final people in our green room are Cliff Riley and his daughter Grayson, which I'm really excited about. Welcome.
You said you had some great people waiting in the green room. I'm still waiting for them to show up. It's just us.
It's all of you. You're all great in my book. So
don't make me come
to your house. You
need
a new book, Kelly.
Do not make me come to your house. Okay? Grayson and I will take you out.
I brought backup, so we do have something great going on.
She likes me.
You plus the sick Elaine means death.
She likes me.
See, I have to understand. You plus a sick Elaine equals death, because she's not going to play around. She's too sick. She's going to mean business.
Say hello, Grayson.
Hi, Grayson. What's on your shirt, Grayson?
Poison Ivy and Harley.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you go, girl.
Very good taste. And
Let
Cliff,
me know if you ever want me to do a piece with them for you. I'll do a commission just for you.
I love that.
You got to give your dad a hug on camera as payment.
She will do it. Don't think that she won't. She will do it.
Now my heart's broken.
Oh. Darcy Doodlecope does not understand what's happening. So, hi, Darcy. We are going to talk about comics that give us hope. And this is for the Multiverse Fundraiser. So this panel is free to attend, but we are running a donation link for Comic Books for Kids. Comic Books for Kids is a great charity that is focused on getting comic books and other comfort items to kids in hospitals and cancer care centers across the U.S. and Canada. So that's what's happening. And I'm going to let Elaine go first. So let me get you the full screen. If I can. One sec. Nope, that's not it. But Elaine, go ahead and start talking about your book, and I will, I'll just mess with this layout.
Hi.
I'm just having.
I'm the resident feminist of this group, and I drive my whole point in life is driving these two men crazy and taking little Darcy there and making her
believe it.
Anyway, My presentation is going to be on the book Diana and Nubia, Princesses of the Amazon. And I have to say, my history with Wonder Woman, Diana of Themyscira, started when I was about 7 or 8 years old. My Aunt Julia used to get those comics. I think my uncle ordered them for her and she would get them. And whenever I came to visit my grandma's, she would let me sit in her room and just pour through her Wonder Womans and her Lois Lanes and whatnot. And so I loved Wonder Woman. And as I got older, they actually did a reprint of some of the original Wonder Woman comic strips. So I loved her even more. But as things happen, you get older, you have kids, you can't buy books all the time like you want to. And I kind of fell off from Wonder Woman, though I had Linda Carter as Wonder Woman on TV. So I wasn't totally away because, that's my girl. Anyway, when we were asked to do a book, something that would be inspirational, uplifting, would give some hope, I found this. Now, I had read the lead into this book is Diana, Princess of the Amazons. That was done for Wonder Woman Day a few years back. What I love about this book is you can sit down with a child of 7 or 8 and read through this book. It's not that hard to get through. Yeah, it's 128 pages, but this is a graphic novel. So it's 128 pages, but you got a lot of pictures to go with that text. So it won't tire you. And it's 6 chapters. So if you had a very young reader that you were doing this with, you could take a chapter a night. And what the story is about is because Nubia, my understanding of Nubia is she wasn't original to Wonder Woman when I was a child reading Wonder Woman. Nubia came much, much later. And what I love it, and they've retconned those 2 characters several times. I read the old strips where Wonder Woman was fighting World War II and whatnot, and she was with the original Justice Society. And then I understand it got changed, and Hippolyta was in the Justice Society as Wonder Woman. So I try not to think too much of that because I'm 65, y'all. My brain gets cobbled. But what I love is this book is done in chapters, and each chapter is done from the point of view of either Nubia or Diana. And it starts out from Nubia's point of view, and she's a princess. She's 11 years old. She is alone. She's on an island of Amazon. She's the only child. And as much as she loves her mother and all these women, they take care of her, she's lonely. She doesn't have anyone her age that she can talk to, that she can hang out with, share little secrets and jokes. And one day, she sees a cave. She's riding with her instructor, and the lady tells her, "Oh, that's the ear of Hera. If you go there, you make a wish on the solstice eve. It's said the Hera will grant it." And when she talks to another one of the Amazons, she tells her, "Yeah, I made a wish a long time ago." And she goes, "Did you get it?" She goes, "Well, maybe not." She goes, "But you have to, in order to make your wish, you have to give something precious. So you can't just go ask for something. You have to give up. You have to make a sacrifice in order to do this." So Nubia goes off and she slips out on the solstice eve, and she goes to the ear of Hera, and she gives her favorite toy, which is Princess Floppy Copy. It's a single light bunny, and Cyclops bunny, and she puts it on the little altar, and she says, "What I want most of all is a sister." She then slips back in, goes to sleep. Then you go in chapter 2 to Diana's point of view. We see Diana waking up. She's in her room, she's in her bed. She wakes up, she looks across the room. There's another bed. In that other bed is Nubia. And so both girls are like, "Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?" it gets kind of loud because, they're princesses and they're warriors. And, you know, it's an interesting book. It is great for young readers, boys or girls, because it talks about, especially if you're an only child or an older sibling. And I'm an older sibling. I have several younger siblings. So there's that loneliness you feel, but then you make the wish, oh, I wish I had a sister or brother, and then you get that wish, and it's like, you are exactly what I wished for. And it starts out, the girls are kind of at each other. Diana thinks Nubia is Circe, playing a trick on her. Nubia thinks Diana is some trickster god. And after arguments, including they finally get to compete in the solstice trials against each other. And they come to a draw. Hippolyta is ticked because she explains after she's got them alone that this is supposed to be about skill. And that wasn't skill. That was violence. That was anger. That's unacceptable. The girls then, when they're arguing later, Diana mentions, if I hadn't made that wish, to which Nubia's like, oh. And they realize the night before, they'd wished for the exact same thing. They don't tell each other that at the beginning because, that would be too easy. They then travel back to the cave, each taking their second favorite toy, which they then sacrifice. And Hera appears. And Hera explains what has happened, why the adults can't remember any of the things. Hippolyta can't remember her life with just Diana or just Nubia. They think of them as always been born together. And they can't remember is that Diana and Nubia come from Themyscira on two different worlds. And these worlds were then merged. So there are parts of Diana's Themyscira and there are parts of Nubia's Themyscira. The people are the same, but there are changes within the island itself. The flora, the fauna, people's memories and whatnot. And she tells the girls that they want their worlds to go back, they have to bring 10 things that are unique to this new Themyscira so that Hera can break the spell and separate the worlds. And I'm not going to tell you the ending because that would be stupid to spoil an ending because, I'm old, I'm evil, and I just don't do that. But it's a great story of understanding. And I love the fact that you switch each chapter switches you, either you're in Diana's head or you're in Nubia's. So you see both sides of this discussion. And one of the lessons is be careful. It's an old adage, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. And they get it, but it takes them a while to realize this is what we wished for. And sometimes if you can put a thing together, taking it apart isn't as easy as putting a thing together. And sometimes taking it apart isn't the thing that you need. Maybe it is that togetherness, that being siblings isn't this wonderful, it's the Brady Bunch, type. Yeah, that's old. I know a lot of you probably never heard of the Brady Bunch. That's okay. But it's that everything's fine. What is that? Everything is awesome. Everything's cool when you're part of a team. Yeah, it doesn't always go that way.
Everything is awesome.
Thank you.
Then in the Lego movie too, we get everything's not awesome.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, like I said, I'm old. You have to forgive me. I have long COVID, and some days are just not as good as others. But for very young readers, this is good because it'll help build their vocabulary. As a parent who has raised siblings and children of my own, if you're going to sit down with somebody younger than 11, read it with them. Take them, especially very little readers, because they'll love the drawing. The artwork is very fun. And they did this with children in mind. But with very young readers, sit there and read it with them. You know, and in fact, I would say if anybody with a child younger than, say, 17, 18, if you're concerned, read the book first. Read it first, then give it to the child and let them ask you questions. Hey, mom, I saw this and they said, and I was thinking that made me wonder, you know, let it, if you're homeschooling, or even if you want to say, add to your child's curriculum, this is a good way of engaging, of getting them to ask questions, to think about sometimes taking an action before you think isn't always a good thing, even though sometimes the journey to where the good stuff is will lead you to something better, but that's not necessarily going to be because it's a great journey. And for your older readers, you know, let them see it. And I believe boys or girls will benefit from this book because it talks about what it's like to be a sibling, or just what it's like to get to know somebody who is so much like you and yet so much not. And I love this because my growing up with Wonder Woman was Themyscira was all white chicks. Which is interesting because it's supposed to be Greek Amazons, and if you ever seen Greek Amazons back then, they weren't, you know.
They were not white.
Yes, thank you. I wasn't trying to say it without coming off wrong. This Themyscira,
I got you.
the Amazons, it's a more inclusive Themyscira. So you have very pale Amazons like Hippolyta. Why they chose her to be blonde, I don't know for the series, because I read those old Herculean books. And one of the original versions of Diana's origins was based on that old mythology where Hercules, on one of his quests, has to seduce Hippolyta to get something from her. And I guess they were suggesting, some of the earlier strips suggested that Diana may have been his child. And then they retconned it. It's like, no, she made herself a baby. And the god said, you know, she made this little baby thing. And the god said, yes. And then we got Nubia, and they kind of retconned things again. And my understanding is Nubia is now preparing to become queen of the Amazon. She's going to be queen.
She is currently the queen of the Amazon.
Okay, so she's queen of Themyscira. I have not been keeping up as much as I should. I'm sorry. I just, you know, I'm one of those idiots who, when I saw the end of Wonder Woman 84, I jumped up and screamed. And I ain't saying no more than that. If you ain't seen it, don't talk to me, because I might hit you. When they showed that end scene after the credits,
that was good.
I squeed.
Yeah, she squeed because it was nothing but leverage. Anybody could do it.
Don't make me come to your house. I know where you live, Joe.
No, I was just reiterating what they meant. But I understand why you squeeze. Just like you should watch Sky High if you haven't watched that movie.
I love Sky High so much.
I have not watched it in ages. I also want to quickly, so you understand the quality of what you're getting. Victoria Ying, is her film credits include Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Paperman, Big Hero 6, and Moana. Okay. Shannon Hale and Dean Hale are New York Times best-selling authors. They're husband and wife
so good
writing team. Diana, Princess of the Amazons, which I own, they wrote with Victoria Ying. Amethyst, Princess of Gem World with Asia Fulmore. They got the Eisner Award nomination for Rapunzel's Revenge. And they also did the New York Times bestselling series, The Princess in Black with Lu Yin Pham, and 2 novels about Marvel's Squirrel Girl. I like Squirrel Girl. That just automatically, you know. But so this is a butt-kicking team. They put out a first, I don't know, I'll put this up. They put out a first-class product. This is really well done. The visuals are great. Sweetie, I'm going to send you this. If you want it, I will send you this in the Diana one. So don't worry, you have these if you want them. Okay, they're yours. Just tell Daddy to ask Auntie Moo for them, and they're yours. Okay, you can call me Auntie Moo. He cannot because he ain't on that. But like I said, I think this is a great book. If you're donating, think of donating copies of this. Kids who have to go in those hospitals, your parents can't be there all the time. And not all of these hospitals have a Ronald McDonald House where they can stay while they're undergoing treatment. And understand, it isn't like they go there and they're there for a day and are home. They're there for weeks. They could be there for months. And so having books that they can read that will lift their spirits, that's everything for them. You guys also do you guys still do comics for soldiers, or it's just comic for kids?
Yes, Comic Books for Kids has a whole arm that does comic books for troops.
I'm an ex-Marine, and I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. When you're stationed overseas, there are places that they're stationed that they can't reach out to their parents and stuff because of security situations. Some of these guys may not have family. Something that can lift their spirits and take their minds off the situation they're in. You know, alcoholism, drug abuse, those things are common among military personnel, especially if you go in young, you are thrown into a situation. I don't care who you are. And I had ROTC before I went in, so I kind of had an understanding, but still, you're not prepared for it. It just gives you that little touch of something to help take you out of whatever is surrounding you and give you that moment where you can breathe. So if you can give, please give. If you know of somebody who can give, if you can't, grab them by the throat, shake them a bit, and tell them you give to this, or Auntie Moo gonna show up at your house and you're gonna be in pain. You know. So I'll hand it back to you, Kelly.
Actually, I'm going to give Cliff the screen. Cliff and Grayson, what do you got for us?
Just real quick, I have to say, I love the fact it's a very DC move that even in a kid's book, they have parallel Earths that have to be joined together. That's just very DC.
Yes.
All right, so for anybody who's ever listened to me on one of these before, this is going to come as a surprise to you, but I chose for a series that inspires hope with me, Starman. Just everyone needs to read Starman, and until I die, I'm going to tell people that. The entire series to me is hopeful and inspiring in a lot of different ways, but instead of sitting up here and gushing over the entirety of it, when I first was told we were doing this, one issue in mind was the first thing that I thought of. And of course, it was a holiday special, because what's more inspiring than the holidays? Yay! But I figured everyone has heard me talk enough about Starman in the past if they've ever listened to me on the fundraiser, and that's why Kelly always sighs when she goes to invite me. I was gonna let my little one
I
Grace.
never sigh. I'm excited.
I remember drunk comics with you. You weren't excited after the third hour. So. But I was going to have my daughter, Grayson, who's a young comic reader, give her thoughts on it. I'm just going to give the quick overview, and then I'm going to let her talk more in depth about it. So for those of you who've never read Starman, it is James Robinson's masterpiece set in the DC universe in Opal City. It is about the original Starman, Ted Knight's second son, Jack, as he takes over the mantle of being Starman, and his journey of learning how to live with as part of this legacy, learning how to make it his own, coming into grips with the larger world he's a part of, even though he doesn't want to be sometimes. And through this journey, there are lots of characters who come with him on it. There's the family of cops, the O'Dares. There is the one-time villain, the Shade. There's the entire Starman legacy going back to Ted and all the way through, including the blue-skinned, one-time only Starman from the 1970s. And in the Christmas special, they are having dinner at the O'Dare home, and they're all waiting on Jack to show up. And of course, as usual, Jack is late. But this time, Jack is late for a very specific reason. He found a sad Santa Claus, and you can't have a sad Santa. And this is a story is going back between Jack helping Santa and the people in the family all getting together for Christmas. And you get to see the other characters who are on their own journey, like the brother of the O'Dare family, Matt, who was a dirty cop and has come into the realization he wants to be a better person for his family and for his city. You come across the Shade, who was a one-time villain, but people realize, well, there's more to him than that, especially when it comes to Opal City. And it all sets the stage, and as you're going along, Jack is helping this Santa. And it all wraps up really nice, and it shows that even if you can't save the entire world, helping one person may be all you need to do. And from there, I'm going to let Grayson talk about it. Also, I have to save my breath because I have another panel right after this, and I don't have that much oxygen. Go for it, baby. All right, we'll start. Don't break anything.
I'll try.
We're on camera.
All right. Well, we start off with the O'Dare house. They're getting dinner all made. They're wondering where everyone is. Jack's late, and comes across Santa, and Santa's telling him how his family, his little boy and his wife, died in a car accident, and he kind of gave up after that. He just couldn't anymore, and one day
he started drinking.
He started drinking, and everything's falling apart in front of him. And we see that someone has robbed him.
Well, he became homeless because his house, while he was drinking on a bender one night, his house caught on fire, and the only thing that he had left from his family was this locket he had around his neck when he ran out of the house. That has a picture of his mother and son in it. Mother of his son.
And someone had stolen, and he's upset because it was the only thing he had left of them. And Jack comes across him and is like, okay, I'll help you out. We can see who took your necklace and we'll return it. And they come across all these dudes that are just like, they know him, they know the person who stole it, and they're trying to figure it out, and they, it's your turn.
Oh, okay. And he's going through, and unlike a lot of superhero books, it's not a lot of fighting. He's not beating up these guys because they're all down on their luck also. So he's like, thank you for helping me out. Here's $40. That should be enough for you to buy a good meal for all the people here in the hobo camp. And then they finally find the guys who stole the necklace, and they are the actual villains of the book. They are robbing. They tried to sell it at a pawn shop, then they decided to rob the pawn shop. And in all the excitement, the pawnbroker is having a heart attack and dying.
And the Santa said that he has been in the army, and he knows CPR.
He was a medic.
And he was like, I know how to help this man. So he was helping him while Jack was fighting everyone. And then everything's over. They fought everyone. The man's okay. They walk out. He's like, I'm sorry. Jack's like, I'm sorry. I'm out of money. I can't give you anything. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. And then he's like, it's fine. It's okay. And we go back to the O'Dares, and everyone's there. They're all waiting for Jack. Jack's there. He opens the door. The Santa is with him. And he's like, I brought a friend. He just needed a little bit of help. And he celebrates the holidays with him. And it's kind of showing you that even when everything's falling apart, there's still a good side to it. Or there will be eventually.
Yeah, because when he comes in, the Santa's name is Pete, by the way, because Pete comes in with Jack, and of course, everyone in the family has this look on their face about what is happening right now. But then they remember, oh, it's Jack, so of course he's going to bring a homeless Santa to Christmas. Of course he is, and The eldest O'Dare brother is walking with Pete, and obviously Santa Pete is crying because this is overwhelming for him, and the oh my gosh, I'm gonna what's Clarence O'Dare, that's his name, that's the oldest brother. He just puts his arm around him and says, "No, Pete, no tears, not tonight." And the final page you get is them all sitting down to Christmas dinner together. Yay! Um, and the only other thing that she left out that I have to mention, just because I have a public service announcement to go along with it, is the Shade shows up for a brief moment. And he just stops in because in the previous story arc is when he really had his complete change of heart, because he got sucked into a portrait along with Jack and Matt O'Dare, and they spent a couple of months in hell, which, will make everybody more hopeful for not being there anymore. But he comes in and he says, I like to respect the season, even though it's too commercial, blah, blah, blah. Here's a gift for the family if someone would like to read from it. And because the Shade's immortal and it's been around since Victorian London, he gives them a signed first edition of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And they're like, this is worth a fortune. And he goes, I've got 3 or 4 more at home. And Merry Christmas, and leaves. Public service announcement. Any immortal shadow people out there, if you want to give me a copy of Charles Dickens' signed books, I'm in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Come on down. But yeah, that's what we read. What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty hopeful, and I liked it. And
Yeah.
I would read it again.
And we read it again before we came in here.
That's true.
But yeah, that's I can't say enough good about the story of Starman, and this one issue is a good example of how you don't have to be the world's greatest hero, Superman, to inspire hope in people. All you need is to inspire it in just one person, and that can make all the difference, which kind of like what we do here with this fundraiser. That one kid may be all we can help, but that's better than none of them. And also, you get to read it with your kids if you're lucky enough, and that makes it even better. But now that Missy Lane told me about a magic well that I can get any wish I want, it was good seeing you. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think of.
So that's what we read Starman. If you don't want to hear about Starman, I promise in the next panel I'm not talking about Starman for the first time in 4 years. So.
Wow. Are you feeling okay, Cliff?
No, I'm really not. But I figured I might as well do something.
It's contractual. That's what it is.
Yes.
Well, since we're at the midway point, I am going to play our spiel for comic books for kids, which Cliff and Elaine, you guys definitely gave a great reason to donate to the charity. So you guys stayed on message. Well done. And then afterwards, I'm going to talk about my comic real quick, and then I'll pass it over to you, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just get this played.
The Multiverse Fundraiser is partnering with Comic Books for Kids to raise money for their cause. Their mission is to provide comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We believe in the importance of providing stories that promote hope and bravery to kids who are facing things that are scarier than any supervillain. And we truly believe in this cause. To donate, you can either go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/The Multiverse Fundraiser or directly to comicbooksforkids.org.
All right. And Cliff, Elaine corrected you. It's a magic wishing cave, not a magic wishing well. And also it's on Themyscira, so I don't think you'll be allowed there. So you're going to have to hang on.
They changed the lore because Cliff was thinking about the Well of Souls that's on Themyscira, where people come, where actual fallen Amazons can come back from the dead.
Yes,
if they're worthy.
And
right.
I make a really great Rapunzel, so I'll get around that whole no man can set foot on Themyscira thing.
You
So
do. You really do.
Oh, actually, they already did that. They already had a story out here. It was a character called Bia, who happened to be a transgender who came back through the Well of Souls as an actual female this time.
That's true. That's
Joe,
true.
don't ruin this as an excuse for me to dress up as Rapunzel again. I'm going for it. So.
No,
All
I'm
right.
just letting you know. It's like if you do it and you come back through, don't be surprised of the permanent gender swap.
I live
You'd
in a
make a
house full
pretty
of women.
woman.
I wouldn't notice. I do. I am a hot chick, so.
So on that note, my comic is Superman Birthright, which apparently Superman has been my theme all weekend, and I will not apologize for it.
Now, before you go, Kelly, you did steal my idea. I was going to do Superman, and then I was like, well, fallback plan. So,
Starman. So it's my fault that you talked about Starman.
yes.
I will not apologize for that either. Superman, when you think about hope, you just think about Superman, and not because of that terrible line in Man of Steel. The S stands for hope. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I mean, it does, but no. So, Superman Birthright is my favorite version of the Superman origin story for so many reasons. First of all, Mark Waid can't miss. He's the best at writing hopeful superheroes. And the thing I love about Superman Birthright is how Clark Kent is portrayed. Clark Kent in a lot of Superman lore is not portrayed as the other half of Superman. He's portrayed as his alter ego that he puts on as the mask. But in this lore, Clark Kent is just as much a part of superhero. It's just like the two extremes. So we start out with, after we get the origin story of how the baby is sent to Earth, which actually there's hope even built into that, because Jor-El and Laura are worrying about what's going to become of their baby. And they're like, we have no idea. And Laura's like, well, we just have to hope that he's going to be okay. So there's that spark of hope right there. And then we cut to Clark Kent in West Africa, paling, like he's basically a freelance journalist at this point. He's paling around with someone who is an activist and just kind of low-key protecting this guy. Like he's guarding him from being shot. And he's learning from this activist. So we see Clark Kent, social justice warrior. Yeah, I said it. And I love that perspective because it shows that Superman is not just the powers of the god, it's the morals of the man. And we really get an emphasis on his upbringing, which any good Superman story has that. But we also get a really good moment where Superman, once he has started wearing the cape, he considers throwing it all in because he sees Metropolis is in peril. And he's like, well, this is because of me. Metropolis is being attacked because I brought this attention onto Metropolis. And that's why it's being attacked. Maybe I should hang up the cape, quit my job at the Daily Planet. And Lois Lane is kind of the one who brings him back from the brink and tells him off. Also, Lois Lane is a total spitfire in this, and I love it. But so reading this comic always brings me hope when I need it. That's why I love it. And if you have not read this, it's the perfect Superman origin story. So, Joe, what do you got for us?
Well, pretty much when you told me the idea for this particular multiverse fundraiser, I have to go with the poster boy for hope. And it also brought me out of my nervousness here, which is our guy, Peter Parker, Spider-Man. No, the story that we're not going to talk about has nothing to do with Venom, has nothing to do with Gwen Stacy, has nothing to do with One More Day, than how they brought back Aunt May, it has nothing to do with Carnage or anything to that magnitude. We're going to talk about the single greatest story that has ever been written in Amazing Spider-Man. And that is issue number 248. Issue number 248. on the cover, it says, in this issue, the kid who collects Spider-Man. Now, in this issue, there's two stories. There's one where you get your normal action where Spider-Man fights Thunderball of the Wrecking Crew and everything, you know, to help stop his he's actually broke into this one place and wrecked everything here, and Spider-Man brought him into justice. We don't care about that story. We want the second story here, which is the kid who collects Spider-Man. And this story is told in such a way, which pretty much is the antithesis of why we do this multiverse fundraiser. It starts out, and I have to zoom in on it, talking about an article. And the article talks about this one kid called Timothy Harrison. And you never think too much about, you know, why would this story start out with an article talking about a kid? So it starts out about talking about the kid and how the kid is kind of like a 30-year-old in like a kid's body and everything. And, you know, hyping up the kid as being the typical average kid who loves Spider-Man. So if it's pans out and then you see Spider-Man in his bedroom, waking him up. It's like, hey kid, how's everything going, this, that, and the other. So the kid finally meets his hero. So it comes at a shock to him and everything, and he is so happy and this, that, and the other. You know, he does a couple of spider feats to make certain that, you know, it is who he is. So the kid is just so ecstatic and everything that he breaks out his collection and tells him how, you know, how much he loves that he does what he do and this, that, and the other. And they go through his collection and everything. They have his origin story up here as well. And they talk about how he lost Uncle Ben as a downfall too. You know, talking about how Ben died and everything, and how it was one of his worst days ever and whatnot. And, you know, the kid comforts him and everything. And before you know it and everything, you know, they talked about all his different adventures and everything. But also notice they're up here throughout the whole story. The letter is still, you know, the article that was written keeps going on, telling you more and more about what the kid is really about here. So it pans out and they go through all the different news articles and everything to that magnitude. And they're up here. It's like, well, eventually time came where Spider-Man had to leave, you know, and he asked him for one thing. He wanted to know who he was. It's like, out of all things, it's like, I know, you know, you have a secret identity. I want to make certain that, you know, if you could tell me. And Peter granted his wish. He takes off the mask and tells him, I am actually Peter Parker. And, you know, everything was revealed to him in one fell swoop and whatnot. And they hugged and embraced and everything. And the kid pretty much say, okay, good night, you know, tell Spider-Man good night and everything, knowing that the kid would never tell his secret. And you kind of wonder, why would Peter do something like that as a whole here? So we see him leave and everything, and then we see that he was leaving a cancer center. And at the very end of the article, and I'm going to try to show this as much as possible, and I'm going to read it first here. And it says like, well, Mr. Conover, I would like to meet Spider-Man to talk to him just for a few minutes here. Well, I hope Timmy gets his wish. I hope that somewhere out there Spider-Man reads these words. I hope that my publisher is wrong about him and that he takes the time to visit a very brave young man named Tim Harrison. And I hope that he does it soon. You see, Tim Harrison has leukemia and the doctors gave him only a few more weeks to live. And Spider-Man granted his wish. This is the antithesis of why we do what we do for the Multiverse Fundraiser. This will give kids hope in the aspect that they can meet their heroes, that they can get some type of joy at the very last even if it may take their last breath, or it might give them hope that they can see another day. Their one wish is very important here, and you could give them many wishes through the different stories that we get in the actual comic book form. This one book is why writers like myself in the comic book industry do what we do. We try to tell stories that give kids hope. In this case, he wanted to see his favorite hero, and he got to see it. Sometimes it might be just a simple adventure to go on, to have that last hurrah. These comic book stories give kids that as a whole here, something to focus forward on, not to look at the problem, but look at a possible solution, and to forget about what it may take to get there. It might give them the push to move on and to keep going. So if you haven't, and I do applaud, ask that you go ahead and give, because this is the reason why we do what we do in comics as a hero. So that's one of the reasons why I still feel that this particular story, the issue 248, is the greatest story in Amazing Spider-Man history. Now, you might think, you might be a Venom fan, you might be a Carnage fan, you might like all the other stuff here. But stories like this don't come on a day-to-day basis. Heroes sometimes need to take time for those who really look up to them. And that's the comic that I brought for you guys today here. I hope that you understand why I chose it more so than anything else. It's one of the most inspiring messages, especially after somebody else took the time and the effort to write an article in a newspaper to get Spider-Man's attention, to do that one little thing for his biggest fan. And there you go, Kelly. I'm not one to.
That is a perfect choice. I almost cried. That's
Yes.
like you said, that's why we are here. And when was that story published? Do you know?
This was done, I want to say, in the 80s, 1984.
I love that.
And this was like one of the few Spider-Man stories that I read as a kid, and it stuck with me for the majority of my life.
That's
I'm not
so
a big
really
Spider-Man
funny.
fan, but this was the one Spider-Man story that made me like the character. Everybody was up there. It's like, oh, he's beating up on all these different villains, but that second story is what made me like Peter Parker. The second biggest Spider-Man story happened to me with Ultimate Spider-Man when he actually died, saving New York.
Ooh.
That was another inspiring story that fits this particular fundraiser. I mean, what he did made his greatest enemy, J. Jonah Jameson, change his heart, because he saw what he sacrificed to do what he did.
I loved that arc for J. Jonah Jameson and seeing how he changed towards Peter afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. There's a reason why Peter Parker's Spider-Man is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, because you see him doing those small things for the neighborhood. Well, we call them small things, but they're not.
They're huge things for those that live there.
Yes. I do. I love that about Spider-Man. Like, every so often I would get, when we kept getting Spider-Man movies and nothing else, I was like, do we need another Spider-Man movie? But that's why
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man has that lasting appeal. And same thing with Superman. It's because the characters have that heart that we will forever need.
Unless you read like Lois Lane, where you get to see him as a jerk.
So Elaine said she got into the comic because of the original animated series, but Gwen Stacy's death gutted her, which,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So one of my many hats that I wear is I do a comic and U.S. history podcast, and Hollis Thompson and I talked about Gwen Stacy's death and how that changed the industry and how before that they really didn't let heroes lose, and they didn't kill off characters for good like that. And it did kick off the whole women in refrigerators thing, but that issue had it explored so much of the character, so it's an important issue, and it's not necessarily just a woman in refrigerator in terms of like, okay, well, it doesn't serve any value for the story.
You have to look at it from the progression of the overall story too, because she lost her father a couple of issues before that. Because people keep forgetting about Captain Stacy. Captain Stacy died before Gwen did. And she was dealing with that, plus everything that was going on, plus the ultimate trap that the Green Goblin set for Peter. This was the first time that Peter had to deal with death on his hands. He literally tried his best to save her and couldn't. So it wasn't just the, woman in the refrigerator.
Don't forget, in between all of this, Gwen had twins from Norman Osborn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm trying to forget that.
So she had a lot going on.
That was a retcon, though, wasn't it? I try to forget that.
I quit reading Spider-Man after the marriage went away, so I couldn't tell you. In my mind, it happened. So
I'm pretty sure her whole affair with Norman Osborn was a retcon that happened
later. For the modern tellings, yes, it's been retcon.
Well, I do know that the twins are still around because they were in the last story arc before he went into space.
See, I'm glad that story got retconned, and I'm glad that they have acknowledged that Avengers 200 should be retconned.
Which one is Avengers 200?
One where they let
where
go off with her person who assaulted her.
Oh my gosh!
Who happened to be her own son?
Yes.
It turned out that the person who assaulted her was her own son. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the storyline. I just didn't know the number.
That's
storyline.
The worst story ever written by Marvel Comics was Avengers 200.
Yeah, that's the opposite of hopeful.
These things happened a long time ago, and we pretend they didn't.
The nice thing about comics is that there's so much canon that if you're like me, anyways, you can cherry pick your canon.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of stuff is getting retconned all the time. A lot of it contradicts itself. So you pick the stories that are your happy place and you just live there.
That's why I'm so happy that Elaine did the Wonder Woman stuff, because I wasn't going to let her mess it up. I wasn't going to. That's like, yeah, Nubia and Diana would forever, in my point of view, would be based upon canon. They would forever be twins.
I love
and people
that.
look at me like, they weren't twins. It's like, yes, they were. When they introduced Nubia, they were twins. They were both made at the same time. And I hate the explanation of this. One was made from white clay and the other one was made from black clay. And yeah. Mm-hmm. And Hera breathed life into both of them at the same time. So Hera actually gave her twins.
Elaine is saying, excuse me. I think he meant that you weren't going to mess it up.
Yes, you weren't going to mess it up, because I'm not going to allow you to mess it up.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to
trying to give you a save.
Yeah. It's like, if you said something that was incorrect, I'm going to make certain that it was made certain here.
Also, Elaine saying, I would like some of the 70s Lois Lane books where she let her hair down and wore hot pants and learned Kung Fu. Okay, I need to learn more about these. Elaine, send me a message with what the book titles are, because I need to go down.
I want to say it's like Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane from like issue number like 86 on.
Okay, so the early Superman,
like the Rose and Thorn story, the backstories were like the Rose and Thorn backstories that was in there, and everything was her coming into the more modern era, where she wasn't like, oh, I'm so in love with Superman. It was more like, oh, it's just like Superman. It's like you had your chance. I'm about to marry Bruce Wayne now, since he showed interest in me, and I don't have any time for this. And why do I need you? I was like, I haven't learned Kung Fu and this, that, and the other. And she was her stories were actually progressing, and like Elaine was saying, it became more more of a standpoint of having more feminism in the books.
Oh, I'm here for that.
Which the whole thing to me is some new thing, because I grew up when Lois Lane learned how to defend herself and Superman taught her Kryptonian martial arts. It's even in the Who's Who, her entry. I don't know nothing about this learning kung fu stuff.
Yeah, that was much later. That was not in the 70s and 80s. That was more 90s.
Well, I mean, it had to be in the 80s because the Who's Who was pre-crisis.
Oh.
So it probably was Burn era. Well, Burn era was 80s, wasn't it? Or was it 90s?
Remember, Byrne was post-crisis. That was the new Superman who was more like on Smallville.
Okay.
So no, it was who didn't know anything about his Kryptonian heritage.
See, I got to figure out who wrote those stories then.
It was whoever was doing Adventure at the time, Adventure in Action at the time, in the mid to late 70s.
Interesting. So Lois Lane got jumped while investigating a story and got saved by a couple of female kung fu detectives. So we are actually at the end of the hour. Thank you all for joining us. Where can people find your show?
Oh, they can find it on YouTube at From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. That is my direct YouTube channel where we do Comic Book Spectrum there. And I do a Saturday show called From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, where I talk about the comic book industry as a whole, what I actually write and produce, and things that bother me about comic book collecting from time to time.
Nice. And Cliff, everyone's going to see you up next on our next panel, which is B-List Boosters, where people are going to be talking, you and others are going to be talking about the comic book characters that do not get enough love and do not get enough spotlight, but deserve it.
Like Rosa Dorn.
And where can we find you, Grayson?
On the couch.
Yep.
That is delightful. That's where I would like to be right now.
And you better say hi to Clyde for me, because we miss him. We miss Clyde on the show.
Yes. I have a bone to pick with Clyde anyway, so that'll be fun. Clyde just said to me one day, he goes, "Hey, why don't you try and come on the Comic Book Spectrum with us one night and see and let everybody meet you and see how you like it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then the day after, he messaged me and said, "Yeah, I'm leaving the show. You're taking my place." I was like, "Wait, what?"
He baited and switched you. Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
Also, hi, Coffee Black. Yes, this is another Nerd Fest, and we've got another one coming up next. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching, and be sure to donate to the fundraiser if you can. And even if you can't, just share away and keep getting the word out.
The Multiverse Fundraiser is partnering with Comic Books for Kids to raise money for their cause. Their mission is to provide comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We believe in the importance of providing stories that promote hope and bravery to kids who are facing things that are scarier than any supervillain. And we truly believe in this cause. To donate, you can either go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/The Multiverse Fundraiser or directly to comicbooksforkids.org.
The Multiverse Fundraiser would like to thank our sponsors: Earth Dog Studios, Clobbern Comics, The Art of Brian Rodman, Studio Moonfall, Elusive Comics, and of course, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment Network for hosting this event. Learn how to support these businesses on the MVFR website.